The Galactic Diplomatic Corps had existed for 12,000 years before humanity arrived on the cosmic stage. It was the oldest institution in known space. Hundreds of species had joined its ranks. Thousands of treaties had been signed in its great halls. The massive space station called Unity Prime floated at the center of neutral territory. It was considered sacred ground where no weapon could be drawn and no lie could be spoken without severe punishment. Ambassador Xyloth of the Crevan Empire watched the human delegation enter the main chamber. His four eyes narrowed with suspicion. The humans had only discovered faster than light travel 30 years ago. They were babies in cosmic terms. Yet they had requested a seat at the negotiation table for the Trilithium trade agreement. This was one of the most important economic deals of the century. "They will embarrass themselves," whispered High Speaker Morrigan of the Felonth Collective. Her fur bristled with amusement. "Let them learn the hard way that diplomacy is an art form that takes centuries to master." The human delegation consisted of 5 individuals. They wore simple dark suits. No elaborate robes. No ceremonial armor. No holographic displays of wealth and power. They looked almost plain compared to the dozens of species in the room who displayed their finest cultural garments. The lead human was a woman named Sarah Chun. She was 53 years old. Her hair was gray at the temples. Her eyes were calm and steady. She carried no notes, no tablets, no translators. She had learned all 17 languages represented in the room over the past 2 years. The negotiations began as they always did. The Crevan Empire made their opening demand. They wanted 60% control of all trilithium mining operations in the outer reach sectors. Their argument lasted 4 hours. They presented holographic charts. They displayed economic projections. They reminded everyone of their military strength without making direct threats. Sarah Chum listened. She did not interrupt once. She made small notes on a paper pad. When the Crevens finished their presentation, she simply nodded and said nothing. High Speaker Morrigan spoke next. The Felonth Collective wanted environmental protections that would limit mining to 40% of the available deposits. Their presentation lasted 3 hours. They showed images of destroyed ecosystems. They played recordings of extinct species. They appealed to morality and long-term thinking. Again, Sarah Chun listened. Again, she said nothing when they finished. This pattern continued for 2 full days. Every species made their demands. Every species presented their arguments. The humans remained silent. Some delegates began to whisper that the humans were too frightened to speak. Others thought they simply did not understand the complexity of the issues. On the 3rd day, Ambassador Xyloth turned to the human delegation. His voice carried the weight of annoyance. "The representatives of Earth have been unusually quiet. Do you have nothing to contribute to these proceedings?" Sarah Chun stood slowly. She walked to the center of the chamber where a speaking platform floated above the assembly. Every eye in the room turned toward her. "Thank you for the opportunity to speak," she said. Her voice was soft, but it carried clearly through the chamber. "I have listened carefully to every argument presented here. I have heard the concerns of every species. Now I would like to ask some questions." Ambassador Xyloth waved his primary arm in permission. He expected the human to stumble through basic inquiries. He expected to educate her on the finer points of galactic commerce. "Ambassador Xyloth," Sarah said, "you demand 60% control of trilithium mining, but your empire already controls 72% of refined trilithium distribution networks. If you gain mining control as well, then you will create a vertical monopoly. This would violate Section 847 of the Galactic Commerce Accord that your own grandfather signed 200 years ago. Are you prepared to explain to the Commerce Council why your empire should be exempt from agreements your own bloodline created?" The chamber fell completely silent. Ambassador Xyloth's 4 eyes went wide. No one had mentioned Section 847 in centuries. The humans had not only found it, but understood its implications perfectly. Furthermore, Sarah continued without waiting for an answer. Your economic projections assume a stable demand curve for the next 50 years. But the Mandari Republic is currently developing synthetic trilithium alternatives. Their research is classified, but our analysis of their patent applications suggests they will achieve commercial viability within 15 years. Your 60% control would become worthless. Ambassador Zyloth sank back in his seat. His advisors were frantically searching their databases. They had not known about the Mandari research. Sarah turned to High Speaker Morrigan. Your environmental concerns are valid. The destruction of the Vorn ecosystem was tragic and preventable. But your proposed limitations would not actually protect the outer reach. They would simply shift mining operations to unregulated territories where there are no protections at all. You would feel morally satisfied while causing greater harm. High Speaker Morrigan's fur flattened against her body. This was a sign of deep discomfort among her species. Instead, Sarah said, I propose a different framework entirely. She pressed a button on her simple datapad. A holographic display appeared above the chamber. It showed a complex but elegant system of shared mining rights, rotating environmental protections, and profit distribution that somehow addressed every major concern raised over the past 2 days. This framework gives the Crevan Empire 40% distribution control, which maintains their economic interests without creating a monopoly. It establishes protected zones that rotate every 30 years, allowing ecosystems to recover while maintaining production levels. It creates a joint oversight committee with representatives from all 17 species present. And it includes automatic adjustment clauses that respond to new technologies like synthetic trilithium. The chamber erupted in murmured conversations. Delegates compared notes. Advisors ran calculations. The human proposal was unlike anything they had seen before. It was not a compromise where everyone lost something. It was a synthesis where everyone gained something they had not even known they wanted. How did you develop this? Asked the Mandari delegate. His species was known for their analytical minds. They were considered the mathematicians of the galaxy. This would have taken our best minds years to calculate. Sarah smiled softly. We humans have a saying. The best deal is one where everyone walks away happy. We spent the last 2 years studying every species in this room. We learned your histories. We understood your fears. We analyzed your economies. We did not come here to win. We came here to solve a problem. The vote was called the next day. The human proposal passed unanimously. It was the first unanimous vote in the Galactic Diplomatic Corps in over 4,000 years. News of the negotiation spread quickly through known space. Other species began requesting human representatives at their own diplomatic sessions. At first, the established powers found this amusing. Then they found it concerning. The border dispute between the Crevan Empire and the Thalorian Federation had lasted 600 years. Human negotiators resolved it in 3 weeks. They discovered that the original conflict was based on a translation error in an ancient treaty. Both species had been fighting over territory that neither actually wanted. The religious conflict between the Zealots of Primus and the Secular Alliance had claimed billions of lives over 12 centuries. Human negotiators brought both sides together and found common ground in their shared love of music. Within a year, they had established joint cultural programs, and the violence had completely stopped. The economic war between the mining guilds and the transport unions had crippled interstellar trade for decades. Human negotiators created a new profit-sharing model that made both sides wealthier than they had been when fighting each other. Every negotiation followed the same pattern. The humans would listen. They would ask questions. They would identify the real issues beneath the stated positions. And then they would propose solutions that no one had imagined, but everyone could accept. Ambassador Zyloth called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Diplomatic Corps Leadership Council. 12 of the most powerful diplomats in the galaxy gathered in a private chamber. "The humans are making us obsolete," he said bluntly. His 4 eyes showed genuine fear for the first time in his long career. "Our purpose is to negotiate between species. But the humans do it better than we ever could. Perhaps we should limit their participation," suggested the felon High Speaker. "We could invoke heritage clauses. They are too young a species to hold senior positions." "That would only delay the inevitable," said the Mendari delegate. "We have analyzed human negotiation patterns. Their advantage is not technical, it is psychological. They genuinely want everyone to succeed. They have no hidden agendas, no ancient grudges, no territorial ambitions. They approach every problem fresh." "That cannot be true," said Ambassador Xyloth. "Every species has hidden agendas." "Not the humans," the Mendari replied. "At least not in diplomacy. They seem to derive genuine pleasure from solving problems. It is almost pathological. When they see a conflict, they cannot rest until they have found a solution. They will work for months on disputes that have no bearing on their own interests." The chamber fell silent as the delegates absorbed this information. "There is something else," the Mendari continued. "Their pattern recognition abilities are extraordinary. They detect lies with almost 90% accuracy just by watching body language. They remember every detail of every conversation. They connect information across centuries of history to find relevant precedents. Their brains are simply optimized for this type of work." "So what do we do?" asked High Speaker Morgan. No one had an answer. Over the next 5 years, human diplomats became the most requested negotiators in the galaxy. Species that had been enemies for millennia were making peace. Trade agreements that had been impossible became routine. The galaxy was experiencing an unprecedented era of cooperation, and the galactic diplomatic corps became increasingly irrelevant. The final session was held 10 years after Sarah Chun first spoke in the Unity Prime Chamber. The Leadership Council gathered one last time. Ambassador Xyloth was now very old. His primary eyes had dimmed with age. "I move to formally disband the Galactic Diplomatic Corps," he said quietly. His voice held no bitterness, only acceptance. "Our function has been fulfilled. The humans have shown us what diplomacy truly means. We were never solving problems. We were managing conflicts. There is a difference. The vote was unanimous." Sarah Chun attended the disbanding ceremony as a guest of honor. She was now quite elderly herself. She had trained thousands of human negotiators who now worked across the galaxy. "You have destroyed an institution that existed for 12,000 years, Ambassador Xyloth said to her. His voice was gentle, almost admiring. "Does that not trouble you?" Sarah shook her head. "Institutions should serve their purpose and then step aside when something better comes along. You taught the galaxy how to talk to each other. We simply taught them how to listen." The Unity Prime Station was converted into a museum and cultural center. Species that had once gathered there to argue now gathered there to celebrate. The halls that had echoed with demands and threats now echoed with music and laughter. And somewhere in those halls a small plaque was installed. It read simply, "Diplomacy is not about winning. It is about understanding." Below those words was the name Sarah Chun and the flag of a small blue planet that had changed the galaxy forever. The humans had not conquered anyone. They had not threatened anyone. They had simply shown everyone a better way. And in doing so, they had accomplished what no empire in galactic history had ever achieved. They had made themselves indispensable by making everyone else successful.